Chapter 4 Wings of Dawn. In middle March they started night fighter training. It was both terrifying and thrilling. The third night they did night flying. Danny could not sleep again after, the adrenaline running high. When the first light came, he slipped off base and went for a walk. He didn't know if she'd be awake, but he couldn't help himself. He found himself at the garden gate. Everything was quiet. He knew Tim and Janice got in later than he did, because Jan had been on tea duty when they had landed, and Tim had been working on Johnny Spitfire's landing gear, which had been troublesome the night before. He hesitated. It was logical that the room on the side of the house with the pink and lace curtains would be Eleanor's, but it was still risky. He took a deep breath and softly rapped against the window. Eleanor. There was stirring inside. He tried again. Eleanor, are you awake? Johnny, is that you? She sounded sleepy. Then the curtains moved and she peered out. Danny, I thought you were Johnny up to something. I didn't expect you. She didn't sound mad, though. I couldn't sleep, so I went for a walk, and then I got the mad idea to come and ask you if you wanted to join me. She blinked at him for a moment, surprised, then smiled. All right, give me a second to get dressed properly, and I'll be right out. He didn't have to wait long. She came out in slacks and a beige jersey, her curly hair pinned up, smiling. Where to, good sir? He laughed. I was worried you might be mad at me and set the dogs on me. I didn't really plan any further than that. Duncan's got a plot of land just this way out of town. There's a pond and a stream. It's very pretty. We've picnicked there a couple of times last summer. He wouldn't mind if we went for a walk there as long as we keep the gate closed. Lead the way. It sounds like a plan. It was a pearly grey spring sky above, still and cold and lighting up at the edges. The trees were starting to push little green leaf buds up to the light. Danny brushed his arm with her fingers and she easily slipped her hand into his. They came out of the small village and he saw the land stretch out before him. He'd only seen it from above before, never been a part of it. It was different to be walking in it with a girl's hand in his. They came up to a big swaying wooden gate next to the road. This is it. They swung it open and creaked it closed again. There was a 2-track road cutting through the dew-wet grass, winding downhill. Below them lay a meadow with shorthorn cows and a piebald cob grazing scattered through it. Through the middle of the pasture, a stream and pond cut, splitting it in two. Some of the cows were belly deep in the water, greedily after the fresh reed shoots. They followed the track down to the water. 2 Canadian geese were warily circling in the water, honking their mistrust at the disturbance. I didn't know there were Canadian geese in England. They're actually quite common here. I think some of them were originally brought here by the royal family in the 1700s, and they did a fair job of populating the country. It's the first time I've seen them here, and it's like a touch of home. We had them everywhere. We often had to chase them off the runways. You don't want to hit one of them taking off or landing. A lot of people can't stand them, but I just love the sound of those big wings and their big formations they fly in. It's a sight against the morning sky. Makes your heart lift. She smiled up at him, and her eyes were the same pearl grey as the dawn light. You're kindred spirits, Danny. Creatures of the sky. They're beautiful birds, and I love their calls. There's something pure and sad to it, like a lament for something long gone. He couldn't resist. He had to kiss her then, because there was something beautiful and wistful about her too, and she understood him. The geese took off from the water in a mass of spray and beat their way powerfully into the sky as the sun came up.